Enthusiastic citizen Mr. Yu Entertainment Circle author, Yoon Yishi copywriting, this is a warm entertainment story. Black Belly and Poisonous Tongue director attack time serious Buddhist actor by the story starts with a rainy night. Enthusiastic citizen Mr. Yu helped a middle-aged uncle drunk, and was filmed for an interview by a local small TV station, praising him for being helpful and a good role model for the citizens. The next day, the name of actor Shen Yu, who has been in the business for many years, was on the hot search in a way he had never thought of. The embarrassing but polite screenshots of smiling smiles are accompanied by various texts that have swept the emoji world. On the top floor of a luxury hotel, someone who woke up from a hangover looked at Weibo and widened his eyes. Who wrote this report? Are the people on the small TV station blind? Assistant, boss, do you want to thank that Mr. Yu? Impossible, no one wants me to recognize the middle-aged uncle, hey. Read the small guide 1. Attack and receive our treasures, and finally met each other in a long life 2.1v1 cookies 3. All characters in the article have no prototypes content tag. Love the entertainment circle search keywords, protagonist, Shen Yu, Zhong Simo supporting role, seeking support in the serialization of the new article Republic of China's entertainment tycoon others, brief introduction, not a passerby, but an actor. Idea, love is not a match in the eyes of others, but a match between you and me. Brief comment on works. The not popular but Buddhist veteran actor Shen Yu picked up a strange colleague on the road on a rainy night. After he happened to be photographed by a local small TV station as an enthusiastic citizen, he airborne hot searches in a way he had never thought of. Since then, his life will be like pressing the accelerator button, and various opportunities and disputes followed one after another. And perhaps the luckiest and most shocking of them is that strange drunk colleague is actually the international leader who he has admired for many years, who is known for his poisonous tongue and black belly. Wait, this leader seems to be chasing himself? This article tells a true and heartwarming entertainment industry story with warm brushstrokes. Although the two protagonists have very different status and life trajectories, they are equally serious and firm. After sufferings, they met the most suitable one for each other. True love always starts with mutual respect. A slightly sweet soda cake suitable for reading in one sitting. The night was already very deep, and the high-wage tower lights illuminated the set as bright as day. After the shooting, I took a few steps and realized that the moon was in the middle of the sky, and the next day was taken in one breath. Brother Shen has worked hard. Shen Yu nodded and smiled at the staff moving the equipment. He hasn't taken off his filming outfit yet, dressed in a blue silk pine and loose in a bun, and white clothes wins snow. The slightly drooping corners of his eyes give people a natural harmless message, and the corners of his lips are drawn at the junction of the strong light and the night. If the young master Pian walked out of the ancient book. A good skin bag. This is the most direct evaluation of Shen Yu's agent on him. It's a pity that in this bizarre entertainment world, a good skin is the least rare thing. Even if you are congenital deficiencies, you can make up for it. Shen Yu has a handsome face, but he is so few steps away from the evildoer who can travel the world with his face. He graduated from a formal performing arts academy, but he is so few steps away from the natural drama bones that rely on acting skills. Personality, yes, but it's not the kind of strange flower that can spell a road. In short, you can't tell what's bad about him, but you can't find his highlights at a glance. Such people want to be popular in the entertainment circle, not impossible, but they need luck. Obviously, Shen Yu had no such luck. It's been 6 years since I graduated and entered the entertainment industry. I signed to a small company with little resources, and acted in countless films of all kinds. Only one of the few small investment TV dramas was aired, Tepid. Shen Yu's resume can be described as thin. This dark and turbulent circle is best at swallowing the edges and corners of people. He has been up and down for 6 years. At the age of 27, Shen Yu has long forgotten the unrealistic fantasy of his student days. Now he just wants to honestly have a movie and live with money. The worker who moved the equipment greeted and continued to be busy. Shen Yu walked to the dressing room and met several people who called him Brother Shen along the way. Shen Yu stopped and nodded in response one by one. This costume drama called Zufeng is adapted from the novel of the same name. Just because the author himself is a rich second generation, with the desire to film his own play, he put together investment and formed a team. As a result, the entire creative team is almost all younger than Shen Yu, and the protagonists are all newcomers except Shen Yu, which makes Shen Yu the name of Brother Shen. However, Shen Yu was holding the door in his heart. Others called him his brother because of his relatively old qualifications and good personality. If he really put on his brother's score, it would be a joke. Shen Yu's agent brought a few artists at the same time, but his focus was never here. The only assistant, De Chuan, was in a sudden illness and hurried away on leave in the morning. He was in a state where no one was available for a while. Fortunately, Shen Yu has never been a master of gold and gold. When he was a teenager, he went to the wall to lift tiles, stayed up late to play games, and wiped his face in the morning and went to class. Being an entertainer feels squeamish, and there are people to help with all kinds of things. The roughness in the beautiful man's bones has not been lost. The scene he just shot was the last night scene of the day. There are many places where the amateur team is unprofessional. The makeup artist does not know where he went, and Shen Yu was too lazy to speak up. She simply changed her clothes, took off her makeup and wig, shaved her hair with both hands, and felt pretty good. He picked up the phone and carried the bag and went out. The location of the wind-bewind shooting is mainly in a large ancient film and television base. With the vigorous development of the local government, this area has become a commercial base integrating shooting, tourism and shopping. The hotel where the crew lived was in a small city near the film and television base. It was about half an hour and a minute's drive from the filming location. Shen Yu greeted the rest of the crew, watching they were still cleaning up, and drove the car out of the underground garage alone, humming. The tune drove slowly to the hotel. The benefits of not being popular are finally reflected. Shen Yu never has to worry about the trouble of fans and paparazzi. He just thinks about how to act every day, but he complies with the teacher's admonition to be a pure actor. It's a pity that the pure actor can't receive a good show. Shen Yu can only do his best, at least not to let the role rot in his own hands. As the car moved slowly, Shen Yu buckled the steering wheel while recalling the content of the daytime shooting. At some point when it started raining heavily outside, raindrops smashed on the car glass, making short rhythmic knocks. Shen Yu was not in a hurry, but drove the car slower, enjoying the feeling of listening to the rain alone. Finally, a large area of lights in the city loomed in front of you. Hey, stop for a while. The road in front is stuck, don't drive over. A different style of painting yelled through the rain into Shen Yu's ears, pulling him into reality. Shen Yu frowned, squinted to look forward, and saw that he had reached the intersection of the city. An uncle in a glowing orange vest waved his hands and shouted to him that it should be a road repairer. Of course, the road into the city is not limited to this one, but the other roads are more than half an hour away from the hotel. Shen Yu will have to get up early to film tomorrow. I really don't want to do that. He didn't hesitate, pulled over and parked, and took it without the burden of a star. Get off the umbrella on the frame, and plan to ask if you can drive there. Hello, can I ask if the road collapse is serious? How long can I drive over? Ah, this road was not dug when the water pipe was buried last winter. The air inside was swollen. It suddenly collapsed in the rain today. If you are in a hurry, young man, wait a few minutes. We'll pave the board and you will pass it first. He wiped the water off his face, made a few gestures, and went to see the road. Sure enough, he didn't recognize it. Shen Yu smiled in his heart, shook his head and followed, and saw the collapsed pavement among the surrounded workers. It did not seem to be serious. It was just that he might be recruited if he drove over at night. Do something about the rain. Oh, Arjing City is not a big place in the first place. In the past few years, the filming base has suddenly been on fire. It is a pity that various facilities can't keep up. There are too many people and problems. Today is bad and tomorrow is bad. Stars, it's clear that star money didn't make it into our pockets, and it made us suffer. The road workers complained while they were working. Shen Yu was a little embarrassed. He couldn't walk away with a polite smile, so he could only look around. This is already considered as an urban area. The convenience store a few tens of meters away is still lit, and the warm yellow light shuttles through the floor-to-ceiling glass windows in the rain. A few late-night parties stand under the eaves to hide from the rain and walk around. It seems very anxious to be trapped by the rain. Shen Yu glanced at the few people and was about to look away, but saw that the door of the convenience store opened. A man walked straight out without holding an umbrella, and his eyes stopped on him again. This man was wearing tight jeans and a black shirt that was tailored to fit. The hem of the shirt was half pinned to his pants, with 2 buttons open, revealing half of his collarbone and a silver necklace. His waist is straight, but his head is drooping, and his forehead and black mask cover his face tightly. As soon as he walked out of the eaves, the heavy rain drenched him all over the floor, but the man kept walking straight in the direction of Shen Yu. His waist is still straight, his arms and legs are swaying vigorously, and the temperament between his hands and feet is like walking on the red carpet of a major film festival. After taking a few glances, Shen Yu averted his gaze, and then took a few steps back. The man's face was very tightly covered, and through the rain, Shen Yu couldn't recognize who he was, but looking at his dress, temperament and where he appeared, he was 80% of the same. After 6 years of floating in the circle, Shen Yu still understands the rules no matter what. In this circle, he must be curiosity and be careful not to know what he shouldn't know. It's a pity that his wisdom to protect himself is destined to be useless at this time. Shen Yu watched the man strode closer, lowered his head, and walked straight into the pit without turning. Snapped! Ouch! Be careful! At the last second of the reaction, Shen Yu finally reached out and grabbed the comrade who had jumped into the hole. The umbrella in his hand couldn't be held firmly, and it hit a worker's back, causing him to turn around and complain. Sorry, I think he was about to go into the pit and pulled a hand, and didn't hold the umbrella firmly. Shen Yu quickly apologized, but the workers didn't care too much. He glanced at the person half pulled in his arms by Shen Yu, shook his head and said, "Oh, this is a drunk. The drunk has the most brainless things. It's okay. You pull him, or you may fall in and break a few bones. It should be." Shen Yu pulled the man in again and straightened the umbrella. The comrade, who was so drunk that he jumped into the hole, did not cooperate with Mr. Shen's actions at this time, nor did he say to the workers that he had no brain to raise any objections, and stood with his head bowed and said nothing. Getting closer, Shen Yu could clearly smell the mixture of perfume and alcohol on his body. On a heavy rainy day, the road was broken. Standing in the rain with an umbrella holding a drunk who seemed to be a companion in his arms, Shen Yu didn't know how he had fallen into this situation, and lost his mind for a while. "Young man, we have already laid the emergency steel plate, you should go first." The voice of the worker made Shen Yu find his way. He patted the man next to him on the shoulder, trying to communicate, but the other party suddenly raised his head, and Shen Yu suddenly met a pair of dark eyes. The eyes intersect in an instant, and the eyes that are close at hand should be drunk, but they are amazingly bright, as if his master still refuses to relax when he is drunk, stubbornly competing with something. Shen Yu was stunned for a second, then looked away. "Then what? Do you have an assistant to call and ask them to pick you up?" Shen Yu asked in a low voice. The logic of these words obviously exceeded the processing level of a drunken brain. The man's eyes did not fluctuate at all, and it seemed that he didn't listen. Shen Yu sighed. It is impossible for him to leave people here on a rainy day. Shen Yu sighed and shook his head, praying that this episode would not cause any bad effects. "Brother, will anyone come to pick you up? Do you want me to send you back?" Don't worry, I'm also a member of the circle, so I won't talk nonsense. This long paragraph is still beyond the acceptance range of a man's brain corroded by alcohol. He looked at Shen Yu, a little dazed. I mean, where do you live? Long's Hotel, top floor number 5. Now the man understood, and he uttered an address clearly. If it weren't for the pea-jumping behavior, it would hardly be obvious that he was a drunk who lost his logic. Long's Hotel is a high-end hotel in Jing City. The confidentiality and privacy are very good. It is deeply loved by the stars who come here to film. Shen Yu also lives here this time. There is no need to travel to send the man back. Fortunately in misfortune. Just all the way, I'll take you back. The man caught the word send. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Shen Yu for a few seconds, then slowly nodded. In Shen Yu's eyes, he looked like Majesty, a cat tasting imported food, proud but not annoying. Shen Yu breathed a sigh of relief, took the man by the arm and led him back into the car. Just as he squeezed the person into the passenger seat, the man suddenly got up again. What's wrong? Shen Yu was taken aback. The coffee I bought hasn't been taken out yet. Did a coffee man buy coffee at a convenience store? Why would he go to ordinary convenience stores to buy the inferior coffee there? The idea quickly passed and disappeared in Shen Yu's mind. He stuck in the car door and persuaded, it's raining outside, you can't drink coffee even if you are so drunk, buy it tomorrow. I bought it, but didn't take it. The man was struggling with this question. All right. I have to mention Shen Yu's well-known good temper among the people around him. As long as he doesn't involve principles, he is always gentle and gentle. Is it at the convenience store in front of you? It's not convenient for you to be drunk. I'll get it for you. After the man nodded, Shen Yu closed the car door and walked back under the umbrella. Anyway, it was only a few hundred meters away, and it didn't take much effort. He carefully avoided the puddles and explained his behavior to himself as he walked. This man who met by the water seemed to have a magical power, which made Shen Yu involuntarily curious and involuntarily wanting to do something for him. Probably because of his unique temperament that he has never seen before, Shen Yu thought as he got the coffee and walked back, the atmosphere of a heavy rainy night always makes people give birth to some strange emotions. In order not to wet the things in his hands, Shen Yu pressed the umbrella very low, only to see the road clearly. Suddenly, his professional sensitivity touched his nerves. He quickly raised his umbrella and looked at it, facing a familiar extended lens. Shen Yu's back tightened instantly, and the next second he realized that this was not a paparazzi. The one holding the camera was a student-like young man. Next to him were two people, one holding a big umbrella and the other holding a microphone, like a student who majored in media for an internship. Shen Yu breathed a sigh of relief and was about to go around, but the little girl with the microphone saw him, her eyes lit up, and she was as surprised as she met a handsome senior at the corner of the library, and rushed over with the microphone. Hello, we are the foreign visit team of Jingxi TV station's People's Livelihood program to relieve your worries. Can you accept our interview? Shen Yu looked at the microphone that was poking her face, couldn't escape, so she stopped and adjusted her facial expression. Although Shen Yu is vaguely powerful and not well known, at any rate he is an actor who has acted in dramas for 6 years. The people interviewed by these small TV stations didn't recognize him understandably for a while, but sooner or later he was recognized by the recorded video. Celebrity is a profession that needs public reputation too much. A small flaw may be magnified and misunderstood by countless people. Shen Yu didn't dare to take risks and quickly squeezed out the most polite smile. Yes, but I have to get up early to work tomorrow, and I am anxious to go back. Can I just answer a few sentences? Yes. The girl was dizzy by the close-range beauty crit. She called Shen Yu to see the handsome guy on a whim. At this time, she didn't know what to ask. Well, what do you call your husband, how old is it, and what kind of work you do? This question was a bit too personal. The girl's companion hurriedly gave her a hand. Fortunately, Shen Yu didn't show any displeasure and answered with a smile. I am 27 years old. You can call me Mr. Yu. As for the occupation, please allow me to keep it secret. Thank you, Mr. Yu. The girl also realized that her performance was too unprofessional, and warned herself not to be idiots in her heart. The 3 members of their foreign visit team are all summer interns, and they can only serve tea and water in the station. Someone called the hotline tonight and said that the road in Jingxi close to the film and television base was broken again. The seniors in the station didn't bother to take it off. The 3 of them finally saw the opportunity to do business and immediately volunteered to carry the guy and brave the heavy rain. What is Mr. Yu's opinion on the road conditions in Jing City? Does it have a big impact on your daily travel? The girl calmed herself down and returned to the subject. I haven't been in Jing City for a long time. This is the first time I have encountered a road collapse. Fortunately, a maintenance worker reminded me that no accidents were caused. Shen Yu looked at the camera and answered in an orderly manner, pretending that he was really a passing citizen, in order to get away soon. Shen Yu mentioned the maintenance workers, and the girl immediately led the topic to a few workers not far away. This is the basic method of hosting the scene in the textbook. Shen Yu thought with relief. Fortunately, the little girl is still in class. Ernest. Hello, excuse me, what do you think of the road conditions in Jing City? The workers saw that the interview team stopped and watched. The girl suddenly handed over the microphone, really startled. The roads in Jing City are really not so good. Everywhere is bad, every day, our logistics phones can be blown up. The uncle Shen Yu who first called to stop took the microphone, said a few words to find the feeling, and continued to raise the subject. If the road is not good, how can the safety of the people be guaranteed? For example, a drunk nearly fell into the pit just now, but fortunately, this young man pulled a hand. You said that if you fall into such a deep pit, you will have broken bones. What Shen Yu, who was about to slip away, turned to him again when he heard the topic, his eyebrows twitched, almost breaking his work. Good-tempered, as he also feels that he is home today. Unexpectedly, Mr. Yu is so enthusiastic that there will be more citizens like you in Jing City, and our life will definitely be better. Although the local people's livelihood programs are all based on this socialist core value tune, Shen Yu almost couldn't hold back a laugh. He took out his 6 years of honed acting skills to keep a smile, speeded up his speech and said first, I am very happy to be able to help others, thank you for your compliment. I have something to deal with, so I will be out of company first. Goodbye, Mr. Yu. The girl saw that this good-looking Mr. Yu was indeed in a hurry, so she nodded regretfully. Shen Yu was finally able to walk back to the car parked at a distance of 100 meters under his umbrella. He opened the door, and the man sat in the car as Shen Yu had gone before. He nodded when he saw Shen Yu coming in. I bought you the anti-alcohol medicine, take some comfort. Shen Yu found the medicine bottle and bottled water from the bag and said to the man. The man remained silent. Just when Shen Yu thought he was unwilling to take it and planned to take it back, he took the medicine and pulled up the mask and put 2 capsules in his mouth. Shen Yu finally calmed down and drove into the city, bypassing the previous scenes of interviews on people's livelihood. The car drove steadily on the road, the sound of rain continued, the car was wafting with a faint fragrance, and the light female voice on the radio sang softly. The man in the passenger seat gradually relaxed, tilted his head against the door, and closed his eyes. At the long traffic light intersection, Shen Yu turned his head, the man quietly leaned on the car door, his tightly covered face exposed a gap because of his posture. From Shen Yu's perspective, he could just see his white skin and long face. Eyelashes, the light shone on his face from outside the window, casting distinct shadows. It's so good looking, Shen Yu moved inexplicably. What's the matter? The man didn't open his eyes, and faintly said, his voice was very low, because he was drunk and stained with strange magnetism, and Shen Yu suddenly felt embarrassed by the teacher's bag when he was distracted in class. "Ah, do you feel better after you wake up from alcohol?" Shen Yu coughed lightly to cover up his embarrassment and changed the subject. "It's okay." After the man answered faintly, he continued to remain silent. The atmosphere solidified again, and Shen Yu bit her lower lip nervously. He is not a familiar character, he wants to walk away when there are many strangers. However, the space in the car was too small at this time, and Shen Yu couldn't avoid it. He could only rack his brains to think about topics that would not offend the other party and ease the embarrassment. "Well, did you not bring your mobile phone? Do you need to notify the assistant to help?" "Well, thanks for the reminder." After the man heard Shen Yu's words, he actually took out his mobile phone from his jeans pocket and started WeChat. Shen Yu hurriedly started. A strong light dazzled outside the car window, allowing him to see the watch on the man's left wrist for the last time. It was a brand Centennial watch launched by a well-known Italian luxury goods company 2 years ago. It focuses on low-key luxury. It is limited to 9 models worldwide, priced at nearly 10 million yuan. A few months ago, Shen Yu looked through fashion magazines in the gap between the promotional photos and saw the introduction of this watch. He remembered it at a glance, because of the unique design and the price. Those who can wear this watch are not only very rich, but also very well identified. Who could it be? Shen Yu went through the famous superstars in the circle, but for a while, he couldn't deal with the people who matched the body shape. He stopped conjecturing and cursed himself not to spy on other people's privacy. Finally, the 2-minute red light ended, and Shen Yu relieved his burden, staring straight ahead and driving. Along the way, Shen Yu felt Yudeo's gaze looking at him. He dared not turn his head while driving. When he looked at the next intersection, the man was leaning on the car door and closing his eyes quietly. At 1 o'clock in the morning, the unlucky Shen Yu finally returned to the hotel with Mr. Diokang. The man had taken sober medicine and rested all the way. He looked much better already. Shen Yu parked the car to the side entrance of the hotel. He pressed his hat down and said thank you in a low voice. After Shen Yu responded, he quickly got out of the car and walked in. The black shirt on his body is not yet dry, and the semi-permeable fabric clings to the tight and smooth muscles. When he stands up, he hooks a beautiful waistline, and his fading back is straight and strong. This man still exudes such charm even when he is in the rain. I really don't know how he should be dazzling when he is focused by the light. Shen Yu watched the other party disappear behind the door, smiled and shook his head. It made sense that he couldn't get angry, because by contrast, he really didn't seem to be attractive. Shen Yu turned around and parked the car into the garage, his tense nerves finally relaxed completely. In the entertainment industry, everyone has their own secrets. These secrets may not be a bad thing, but they cannot be known. Shen Yu is not afraid of the trouble of giving up the rest time to the drunk in the middle of the night. What he is afraid of is that he knows something that he shouldn't know because of this and gets involved in the dispute. Fortunately, this man didn't say or do anything, and he just left. The attitude of the other party not even telling each other's name seemed indifferent, but it was actually what Shen Yu wanted most. This matter is over, let him help others without burden for a while. Shen Yu returned to the room and took a quick shower, and fell asleep on the bed. In a daze, he felt that he still had something to do, such as turning the air conditioner into night mode, such as telling his agent that he suddenly appeared in the livelihood program, but the sleepiness came too fast and too violently, but within a few seconds, he lost everything. Think. The night is spreading in this entertainment-oriented city, waiting for the dawn to come. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun hadn't fully risen, and Aries' day as an assistant had already begun. She got up exactly when the alarm clock rang for the 3rd time, rushed into the bathroom with her cosmetic bag, and came out 15 minutes later. She has become a well-known assistant in the industry. Red lips, curly hair, small high heels, capable and charming. The returned lady who graduated from Stanford University finished biting the bread, opened the tablet, scanned the news a few times, and planned to go upstairs to find her unscrupulous boss. The boss ran from Beijing to the film and television base in Jing City without a word last night, and he did not agree with him by sending a message in the studio's WeChat group late at night, ordering people to report to the local annual fee hotel. After receiving the news, Ari had not had time to judge whether the boss was a rare drunk or a common joke. It was tragically discovered that she was the closest to the boss while she was on vacation. Rather than believable, Ari immediately took a taxi to the hotel, confirmed that the boss had returned safely and opened a room for himself, planning to find him the next day. The number of the elevator jumped down, and finally reached the top floor. Ari walked around the winding corridor designed to protect the privacy of customers for a long time, and came to the door of number 5 room. She found that the door was open, knocked politely 3 times, and walked in after getting permission. In the living room of the luxury guest room on the top floor, the violet curtains are half drawn, and the man sits by the French windows, wearing dark robe-style pajamas, drinking coffee quietly in the morning light. Seeing Ari coming in, he turned his head and gestured, and asked with a very approachable smile, "Good morning." Ari looked at the man inquisitively, and finally had to admit that this person is indeed her boss. If it hadn't been for some wind noises last night, she would definitely not be able to see any traces. Zhong Simo noticed what Ari meant and smiled frankly. There are not many people who know about his affairs, and Ari happens to be one of them. What happened last night was big or small. If Ari was interested, he should have figured out the cause and effect. Being summoned by an unscrupulous boss late at night on vacation, it's not good at all in the morning. Confirming that Zhong Simo was okay, Ari's accumulated grievances immediately came up, and she glared at someone who was drinking coffee leisurely, unwilling to give him face at all. "Well, how much bonus is appropriate for you?" Zhong Simo consciously managed to lose money and offered to bankrupt his wealth and avoid disasters. Ari shook his head, heartbroken. "Boss, someone like you who only knows to withdraw money when you get acquainted with you, you won't be pleased when you meet your sweetheart in the future." "It doesn't matter, anyway, I don't like women, so I don't have to please you." Zhong Simo didn't care, shrugging his eyebrows. "Do you want to listen to the work email you just received?" Ari felt that he must be the one who would suffer if he continued to talk with the boss, so he changed the subject sensibly. "Let's talk." Zhong Simo put down the cup in his hand. "There is news from the studio that the cooperation between us and Tianchen is promising. The other party is willing to draw up a contract according to your requirements, but I hope you can take care of their potential newcomers for 1 or 2. The Ministry of Commerce thinks it is possible to sign the contract, hope you can go back and preside over the overall situation." You see, when Ari said this, he paused for a while, waiting for Zhong Simo's instructions. "Book an afternoon flight and we will go back." Ari didn't expect Zhong Simo to decide so quickly, he didn't answer the word for a while. Zhong Simo smiled when he saw this. "Otherwise, do you have anything to stay here, Ari? Last night is enough, my time is precious, shouldn't be wasted here." "Understood, I'm going to book tickets now." Ari nodded, thinking of something before going out, and asked again, "By the way, boss, how did you get back last night?" When it came to this question, Zhong Simo was rare in silence. He frowned and thought for a while, and said to Ari, "Then you can check how I got back." "Sorry boss, I really asked you to check." "Okay, go and book your tickets. I'll sleep for a while. I get up in the morning and listen to your report. It's really exhausting." Zhong Simo squinted and yawned, motioning his subordinates to leave. "You think I quarrel you to rest, and you want to sleep back to sleep?" Ari couldn't help raising her voice. She has been following Zhong Simo for several years, and she is still often shocked by the other's shameless spirit. It can be said that life is full of surprises. "I went back to the hotel in the middle of the night last night. Is there a problem when I get up with a hangover and sleep for a while?" Zhong Simo, probably taking pleasure in his Qi assistant, asked with a smile. What kind of coffee do you drink when you go back to sleep? Ari wanted to get back to the place, and didn't give up looking for faults. Hot milk. Zhong Simo tilted the cup slightly, allowing the assistant a few meters away to see the contents of the cup clearly. I won't drink coffee anymore. When he said the second half of the sentence, his gaze suddenly sank, and he immediately changed to that tickling smile, interrupting Harry, who wanted to say nothing. Why, if I don't leave yet, I plan to keep drinking milk with me. I can buy you a drink for the sake of working together for a few years. Very good. Ari put away his overflowing empathy and gritted his teeth. When you talk about business and others drink coffee, you can drink milk. It is nutritious and healthy. Do you need us to raise an exclusive dairy cow for you at Royal Ranch in New Zealand? This proposal is really good. I want to name that cow Ari to commemorate its fate with you. Zhong Simo praised sincerely. Ari wanted to say something, and finally sighed, nodded, and left, closing the door gently. She is an outsider after all, so it is not convenient to take care of herself. This Yang Ari was slandering the boss while working, and that Yang Shenyu also got up. The actor is a tiring job. He goes out early and returns late. It is as painful as a high school student. Fortunately, he earns more money than a high school student. It is not unacceptable to think about it. Assistant Dachuan still didn't come back. Shen Yu quickly cleaned up, went downstairs to open the door, and saw the convenience store coffee left in the co-pilot's seat. Only then did he recall a series of oolong incidents last night. He shook his head, threw the coffee into the trash can, and opened Weibo while queuing to drive out of the hotel. Shen Yu hasn't played a big hit drama in the past 6 years in the industry, and has very few fans. Because of this, the fan circle is clean. Everyone is happy to cut the video every day to make jokes, and it's a corner. When Shen Yu is fine, he likes to spy on fans' activities secretly, as a relaxing moment. Shen Yu clicked on his topic of the same name. The latest hot Weibo is a 6-year anniversary video edited by an old fan for his debut. It carefully edited every wonderful moment of Shen Yu's large and small roles, from ancient costumes to the Republic of China. Modern, everything you need. Shen Yu watched as the teenagers on the screen gradually turned into youths, and their acting skills had also changed from youthful to mature. It has been 6 years. At the end of the video, Shen Yu made a comment, and the one with the highest number of likes came into view. Blow up Mrs. S editing. Wei Yuge obviously has good looks and acting skills, why not so popular? Why not? Huo Shen Yu laughed, put his phone aside and concentrated on driving. How can there be so many reasons in this world? Bad luck, it's not yours if it's not yours. Shen Yu has long passed the age of looking forward to the fire. He is already very satisfied with filming and such a group of lovely fans. Before 8 o'clock, Shen Yu arrived at the Zufeng studio and started his day's work as usual. Zufeng is a common online essay on the female protagonist's low magic routine. The female protagonist Zhu Yao was born in a small village. She lives with her urchin-like grandfather. She is optimistic and cheerful. She has 2 dimples with a smile. At the age of 16, there was a torrential rain in the village. Grandpa suddenly went crazy and wanted to enter the mountain regardless of persuasion. A few days later, he was dying when he came out and soon passed away. Before Zhu Yao was relieved from the pain of losing her only relative, a strange man suddenly appeared in the village. The man told her that her grandfather was a legendary wind catcher. Wind is a symbol of the power of this world. Ordinary people can only gain the power of a little wind through cultivation, but wind catchers can capture natural winds and tame them for their own use. Because of the ability to go against the sky, the inheritance of the wind catcher is extremely difficult, and it is necessary to synchronize the 3 blood knowledge and talents to learn to catch the wind. The few wind catchers in the world are all regarded as guests of great power. The weird man who came to the village was the male protagonist Nai Luo, who was carrying a sea of blood and hatred. In order to obtain the power of revenge, Nai Luo approached Zhu Yao's grandfather to help according to the information his father had left before his death. There is no way to the world, and when he was frustrated, Nai Luo suddenly discovered that Zhu Yao, the granddaughter of the wind catcher, had an extremely rare talent for catching wind. But Zhu Yao, who had read his grandfather's notes, speculated that his grandfather's death was not easy, and was determined to find out the truth. The helpless two hit it off and embarked on a journey of chasing the wind together. Shen Yu put on makeup in the dressing room, dressed in his fluttering white clothes, and walked out with a wig. In this play, he is not the male lead Nai Luo, but the heavy male second He Qi. He Qi is a gust of wind, literally. He is one of the strongest winds in the world. It originated from the cold wave blowing from the depths of the ice in the severe winter. He has been in human form after tens of thousands of years of cultivation. In other words, it's a man like real wind. There is not much difficulty in the role of a man like the wind, but Shen Yu suffers a lot from his elegant performance. According to the screenwriter and the original author, He Qi must shoot the immortal, elegant, and superb. Therefore, she rented a large Taiwanese blower from nowhere. As soon as Shen Yu was filming, she would blow at him from various angles, keeping the state of a Category 8 typhoon passing through the camera anytime and anywhere. Shen Yu walked over and said hello to the staff who controlled the blower, jokingly asked him to lightly blow, adjust the state and start shooting today's first article. "Where are you, the little girl, running around in my place? Oh, this square inch of the world, where is not in my control. You should go to your boudoir to trace the red embroidery. The talisman is used in this way. It's a waste of it." In this scene, the heroine mistakenly enters He Qi dojo. He Qi discovers that she is the daughter of an deceased, and does not want to hurt, but just goes around to tease her. These lines are more powerful than second, and less oily. Shen Yu is just right. The white-clothed boy hangs in the air, wearing a robe without wind, his mouth is smiling, but his eyes are floating on the edge. He was alone for too long, for 10,000 years, and he didn't know what his skin was like. Card Shen Yu got down from Wia, the sultry weather made him sweat all over. The director nodded in satisfaction and asked him to go and rest for a while. Shen Yu's acting skills in making this kind of slobber web drama are really overkill. After all, he was born in a well-known professional college in the industry. After 6 years of experience, most of the dramas are one pass, which is distinct from the newcomers who come from everywhere. Compared. After wiping off his sweat and drinking half a glass of water, Shen Yu went back and continued filming. His filming was not heavy today, and the filming was finished by noon, but he watched from the side without removing his makeup to prevent reshooting. "Brother Shen, your agent is looking for you." During the filming, someone came over and said to Shen Yu. Shen Yu was taken aback and took out the silent cell phone, and he saw several missed calls from his agent, Mei Fei. The disadvantage of the assistant's absence appeared again, and Shen Yu thanked him and hurriedly walked to his dressing room. "Sister Mei, why are you here?" Shen Yu pushed open the dressing room door, and saw that Mei Fei was really sitting in it, which was really strange. Among the several artists under Mei Fei, Shen Yu is very well behaved, not going up and down. At the moment, his filming has not been finished, and there is no other announcement. How could Mei Fei suddenly come to visit the class? "Sit down," Mei Fei greeted Shen Yu to sit down and explained, "I brought Bai Zhu Zhen to an event nearby. I happen to be free. Come over and tell you something. Bai Zhen is the best artist under Mei, and he is also a brother of their company. He can already be regarded as a half-liner. Most of Mei's thoughts are placed on him." "Sister Mei, trouble, you say?" Shen Yu confirmed that there was no problem, settled down, didn't care about Mei's obvious eccentricity, and looked at Mei with a serious smile. Shen Yu is a sensible person, with a clear mind in his heart and not being a demon. There are not such smart people with self-knowledge in the entertainment industry. Maifei thought with satisfaction, and was more affirmed of his decision. In the morning's news, Zhong Simo's studio is going to cooperate with Tianchen to make a commercial film. I have an audition opportunity. You can try it. What did you say? Shen Yu was stunned for a while, subconsciously confirmed. Maifei was not surprised by his reaction. She smiled and took out a few pages of A4 paper from her bag, shook it in her hand, and waited for Shen Yu to calm down. In this circle, anyone who hears Zhong Simo's name will not be calm. The man behind these 3 words represents the highest level of the current Chinese film scene. In the declining environment of Chinese films, he alone has propped up half of the sky on the international stage. He is stubborn, and his tongue is poisonous, but none of these can conceal the light of his genius. After 10 years in the industry, he directed 7 films, each of which is a masterpiece that can leave a strong mark in the history of art. Some people ridiculed that Zhong Simo's success story was based on his ability. Since he appeared in people's sight, he has done countless things that have violated the taboos of the entertainment industry, seeming to be willful and reckless, but every time he is overcome by his extraordinary strength, until he develops into the owner of the most effective studio in the entertainment industry. Say nothing. That man should have a natural adventurous spirit, as well as innate talent and luck. He is regarded as by countless frustrated people struggling in the weird big mud in the entertainment circle, even if those people have never seen him. Director Zhong wants to make a commercial film. Shen Yu puzzled. This seems to be inconsistent with Zhong Simo's image of pursuing art. Maifei couldn't help shaking his head when he heard the words, "You really think Zhong Simo is a madman who only knows the pursuit of art?" If this were the case, he wouldn't be where he is today. Zhong Simo's ambition is definitely not to make several films. Otherwise, why should a director's studio spend so much effort on commercial operation capabilities? In recent years, the mainland commercial film market has risen, and many foreign filmmakers have taken the opportunity to make money. Zhong Simo has a unique advantage: it is impossible not to want to share the pie. Shen Yu rarely took the initiative to contact the secrets circulating in the circle, and few people told him that he suddenly heard Maifei commenting on Zhong Simo and couldn't help asking. The characteristic of commercial films is that fast food pursues the greatest commercial value. Would you be willing to give up your bottom line of shooting for these? Those who are well known throughout the internet, Zhong Simo's almost perverted requirements in casting and shooting will always be groundless. The film market nowadays is no longer an era in which a few small flowers and grass can support the box office. People are eager to see good films that really suit their own tastes. Do you think that with Zhong Simo's ability, if he deliberately caters to the audience as for the bottom line, you can see who you are working with? Shen Yu was never stupid, and he understood immediately when Maifei mentioned it. Tianchen Film Co., Limited, which cooperates with Zhong Simo, is a well-known and established film production company in the circle. It produced many popular films in the early years, but in recent years, the quality of the films has been inferior due to various reasons. They are not short of money or resources, only a film that is good enough to regain their reputation. Zhong Simo cooperates with Tianchen, and each takes what he needs. Zhong Simo needs Tianchen's funds and publicity resources to test the waters for himself, and Tianchen needs Zhong Simo to restore his reputation. Under this premise, Tianchen will certainly respect Zhong Simo's freedom of shooting to the greatest extent. And just as Sister May said, you have to remember that Zhong Simo's mind is not simple, he is one of the most unprovoked people in this circle. The scale of the audition is very large. Zhong Simo wants to play it for real. I got a spot. Zhu Zhen's schedule conflict can't be adjusted. You can try it. The audition will be a week later, and the mentality will be stable. It's normal. There are a lot of people following this wave, and if you perform well, you should just hang up in front of the big guys. Maifei confessed a few words and hurried away. On the other side, Bai Zhu Zhen was the focus of her work. If Bai Zhu Zhen hadn't taken over the schedule conflict of the star drama, the chance of this trial would definitely not fall into the hands of Shen Yu. The reason is simple and cruel. In the entertainment industry, the more popular talents deserve the better resources, while the lower-level people can only struggle to look up, hoping that one day they will be lucky. Shen Yu sat in the empty dressing room. The costume was not faded, a piece of long hair fell on the white paper left by Meifi, silent. Meifi's meaning is very obvious. Shen Yujukan couldn't pass the trial, and this is also the fact that with Zhong Simo's critical eyes, how could he fall in love with a mediocre star, Shen Yu, who has not become popular until now, but still can't help it. There is a little bit of unquenchable fantasy in my heart. Shen Yu knew the name Zhong Simo, probably earlier than others thought. At that time, he had just entered a film school in a daze. At the age of 17, he hadn't figured out what he was going to do in the future. He followed the crowd in class every day. Until a film appreciation class, the instructor played an independent film for them as an extracurricular expansion. The story told by the movie King Mei takes place in a small western town that is always grayish. At the beginning of the film, the camera stretches from dark to bright along the bumpy road, stopping on a pair of Nike Classic replica sneakers. The young support teacher dragged 3 large suitcases off the long-distance bus, ignoring the brand-name sneakers that were stepped on by the passengers in the car. He looked around and smiled with 8 teeth. He came to this small city with dreams and enthusiasm, exuding a light incompatible with it. Soon, the young people settled in a junior high school that they had contacted in advance, and taught maths to the third-year children here. The children called him Teacher Joe, and they surrounded him in his spare time to listen to stories and learn from him to play basketball. The young man felt that he was a successful teacher and it was worth it. It is a pity that there is a taciturn girl in the class who never talks to him much, nor does she communicate and play with her classmates. The young man paid attention. One time when the little girl handed in her homework alone, he accidentally found traces of abuse on the other's arm. The kind-hearted young man said nothing. He decided to go to the little girl's house to see what happened, but he bumped into the scene where the little girl's stepfather grabbed her by the hair and couldn't help beating. The young man rushed in, trying to stop the stepfather, but the other party became more and more aggressive. When the young man was lost, the little girl picked up the Buddha statue on the table and smashed it down. The red blood stained the grey man. The town is stained with an unknown color. The shock of this movie to Shen Yu is like the first time humans discovered that the Earth is not the center of the universe in a long time ago. He never thought that the movie could be such a form of expression. It could be so absurd and realistic, instead of a group of handsome men and women crying on the screen. At the end of the film, when everything came to an end with a rare heavy snowfall, Shen Yu was still immersed in the desperate atmosphere, unable to sober up. There has been no other way, Teacher Joe Cluck. This is the first work of your director Zhong Simo, who was released not long ago. He is only 1 year older than you. The old professor with gold glasses and white hair in a rigorous and elegant bun was on the stage. Some proudly said, "Film is a great art. Within 5 years, he will definitely have his place in the Chinese film scene." Zhong Simo's rise to fame was faster than the old professor predicted. Perhaps it was the reason why the entire Chinese film industry fell into decline that year. Zhong Simo's sudden rise with The Green Plum swept the major film festival awards, and its starring Jin Kei also became the youngest actress in history. Since then, the name of Zhong Simo has become a myth that has not fallen for 10 years in the entertainment industry. And Shen Yu, who was inspired by that class and found a direction to work hard, 10 years later, is struggling on the set of a third-line online drama. Shen Yu shook his head mockingly, got up and planned to go back to the shooting spot, but before going out, he still folded a few A4 papers and carefully put them into the bag. Brother Shen is really a good person. Brother Shen, you are back. Brother Shen, somehow put on makeup next time. After Shen Yu and Mei Fei talked about the audition, they walked out of the dressing room to the shooting location. The crew members who met along the way all endured a smile and greeted him, as if something extremely funny had happened to him. The second monk Shen Yu Zhang couldn't figure it out, and he really didn't understand what he could do to make people like this. The costumes were not messy, and the wigs were not crooked. He checked it quickly and without a trace, but didn't find the reason, so he had to smile and respond one by one as usual. In the eyes of those kindly teasing, he almost had the same hands and feet. What are you all laughing at? Finally, after arriving at the filming location, Shen Yu couldn't help asking questions after being watched with a smile on his face by the original author and screenwriter of the novel. You don't know it's over. The screenwriter Hikayake is a ghostly rich second generation. He has just grown up and gave birth to a baby face. She usually laughs sweet and warm. However, watching her squinting and smiling at this time, Shen Yu's heart is full of unknown. Hunch. Weibo hot search, enthusiastic citizen Mr. Yu, see for yourself. Hikayake first sold guanzi to suffocate Shen Yu's appetite, and when he became nervous, he pointed out the direction. Enthusiastic citizen Shen Yu heard this word, and immediately thought of the livelihood program last night. Is it because the show was recognized after the show was broadcast? If so, what did the man do last night after the hot search? Wandering the streets drunk late at night, is not good news for anyone in the entertainment industry. When Shen Yu thought of this, his heart was tight, and he quickly took out his mobile phone to open a hot search on Weibo, and saw the entry Mr. Shen Yu, a enthusiastic citizen, Mr. Yu in the 6th place. Weibo hot search has always been a playground for traffic stars and capital. Shen Yu never thought that he would be one of the top 10 hot searches one day. But he didn't feel happy at all in his heart, frowned and opened the entry. Shen Yu's enthusiastic citizen Mr. Yu's embarrassing but polite smile. Shen Yu's acting skills. At noon today, the local People's Livelihood program in Jing City has broadcasted a special topic about the collapse of the road in Jing City last night. In the program, a person called himself Yu Mr. S. enthusiastic citizens helped a middle-aged drunk man and accepted an interview with the TV station. What's interesting is that after the show was broadcast, according to fans' identification, Mr. Yu's real name was Shen Yu, and he graduated from Beijing Film Academy with a degree of 08. Zhong Simo, Zhou Chazi's fellow junior, once participated in the costume drama Widows Detecting the Dead. An actor was recognized by the TV station as an enthusiastic citizen. It was embarrassing and fun. What do you think? The Weibo posted by the famous Paja in the entertainment circle ranks first in the entry square, and the content is a typical marketing account hot search style. Middle-aged drunk man Shen Yu was taken aback when he saw the word, found the headset and clicked on the video clip of the program attached to Weibo. The pixels of this video are not very high. The picture starts from the collapsed road where workers are repairing. A few seconds later, a man holding an umbrella and carrying a convenience store bag suddenly breaks into the camera. He looks at the lens of his glasses and his complexion instantly tightens. The host quickly passed the microphone over. The man's expression immediately changed to a polite smile, which was very harmonious with the host's question and answer until he left the camera after leaving, and the eloquent narration was just right in. The Mr. Yu we interviewed is undoubtedly very enthusiastic. With his help, the drunk uncle survived a fracture. However, obviously, not every accident will have a Mr. Yu by the side. The road problem in Jing City must be arouse everyone's attention. When Shen Yu saw that he took off his earphones, he already understood what was going on. It rained heavily last night, the Minshung interview team did not photograph his car and the people in the car, and the term drunkard mentioned by the road construction workers is closer to the image of an uncle, and most people who are concerned about the people's livelihood are middle-aged. In order to strengthen the sense of substitution, the program wrote the man he saved as a drunk middle-aged uncle. By a blunder, it was a cover for the man from last night. Seeing that the hot search did not hurt the innocent, Shen Yu heaved a sigh of relief. The hot search was inexplicable. He turned the comments down to see how everyone commented. Ha ha ha, heaven and earth will relieve your worries. What kind of sand sculpture program is this? this little brother can actually hold back his laughter when he hears it. Ma yet, I'm going to laugh to death. Shen Yu's subtle expression management when he is said to be an enthusiastic citizen shows vividly what is the self-cultivation of an actor. I think as a Yanggu, I should pin my little brother's face. This is a plain face, but I am full of emoticons. It must be that I opened Weibo in an incorrect way and smiled manually. The reporter sister's performance is that I met the male myself. Shen Yu looks good. The little TV station's demon mirror hasn't been destroyed. Why haven't I heard it? Thousands of comments seem to be all in the past at first glance. The star has always been a tall and unattainable image in the eyes of the public. Suddenly, there was such a fun and down-to-earth news, and a group of jokesmen immediately started the carnival. However, there are also some unharmonious comments that dominate the hot comments. Shen Yu is to speculate himself whoever wants to hype, so why mention my family at the beginning of the week? When Shen Yu saw this, his face froze with a helpless smile. Zhou Chuzi is a very popular niche in recent years, both strength and popularity. Although Shen Yu graduated from the Beijing Film Academy with him, they did not have any intersection. At this time, they were put together by the marketing account. It is really embarrassing to insist on talking about brothers. He clicked to open the middle of the building, but found that many people eating melons had helped him go back. Only the marketing account, I just mentioned it, without saying anything bad. Do fans want to be so excited? Zhou Chuzi's fans are all brain dead. They have seen it countless times in the past few years. Hehe, do you want to be so sour upstairs? We just took the star before the beginning of the week, nominated the actor, and cooperated with the Hollywood director. Your family, Shen Yu, can't even act as the male number one in a third-rate TV series. Who are you? Coming face torn. I'm also drunk. Sister, I didn't even know who Shen Yu was before this morning. When I passed by and made a word, I was a fan of Luanan. What about your brains? The brain-deads from the early Zhou family should lie down and laugh at them. The combat effectiveness of the powder circle is absolutely incredible in the eyes of ignorant outsiders. They have their own organization, their own rules and their own professional terminology. Once they are torn up, all their combat power will burst. This level of commentary is completely occupied by Zhou fan, Zhou He, passers-by, and anti-crushers, and fully demonstrates the art of language. Until a layer of comments appears. My Baba, don't you just climax when you see Zhou Chuzi's name? Take a closer look. Who is in front of Zhou Chuzi's name? Zhong Simo and Zhou Fan have already swelled to the point that Mr. Zhong's name is not worthy of being put together with his family. Yet this comment is really a tacit exchange of concepts. Originally, the marketing account selected two people with status and topicality to set off Shen Yu for traffic, and one of the fans was unhappy, but it was said that the fans of the beginning of the week were dissatisfied with Zhong Simo. However, it is not vain for the three to become tigers. When a group of Zhou He saw this taking the opportunity to make trouble, Zhou fans were afraid to provoke people who shouldn't be offended, so they could only turn offensive to defensive, and their speech became much milder. Shen Yu drew two eyes down again before exiting the middle building. The grievances of the fan circle are actually the same after seeing too much. If you are better than my righteous master, you must jump on the bones of the egg to show your superiority in order to stabilize the righteous position, and if you are better than my righteous master, you must show your favor carefully and never give righteousness. The main attack is black. The weakness of human relations and society is vividly manifested in this small circle. Shen Yu sighed. Anyway, none of this has much to do with him. This livelihood show is just an accidental episode. The heat has been over, and his main business is still filming with peace of mind. The direct sunlight at noon was really hot. Shen Yu adjusted his wide sleeves and was about to get a bottle of water. The hand that had originally planned to withdraw from Weibo stopped when he scanned a comment. I opened Weibo at noon and saw that Uge's name was on the hot search. I was shocked and came in quickly. I didn't expect it to be such a nonsense news. After the laugh, I felt a little sour. He was recognized by the small TV station as an enthusiastic citizen as a passerby. No worries at all, answer the questions seriously, this is Shen Yu, he looks good, but he doesn't even care about it. He doesn't let him say it until he faints and is hospitalized. Fans give gifts so scared that they can't hold them securely. He will immediately return a more expensive one. The old cotters who are laughed at will just smirk and scratch their heads. When he gets nervous, he quietly rubs his hands. He always says that he is a boring person, but how is this boring, Baba? Look at my little brother, he is so good. This long comment lay pitifully outside a dozen or so, surrounded by ha 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 and teary comments, which seemed out of place. It was like a good student in a school uniform who had strayed into the midnight fun scene. People were laughing and making fun. He looked around, his eyes ignorant and confused. Shen Yu took a few deep breaths and controlled the trembling fingertips. He stood still for a long time, boarded the trumpet, and seriously liked the comment under that comment. Thank you for being willing to like him. The hot search list on Weibo is a place where people from all walks of life gather the focus of attention. It is updated every minute, 365 days a year, and there are so many hot search entries. It stands to reason that as a professional assistant to the general director, Ari didn't need to care too much about the hot search that happened by chance. But Shen Yu's nonsensical hot search made her shake her fingers and successfully patched up her crooked eyebrows. Next time you touch up your makeup, you should never play with your phone. Ari complained, but his expression was serious. She did not choose to remedy her eyebrows, but immediately clicked on the hot search and sent a message to the public relations department by the way. Why did she just find out the boss's action track last night, tried to delete the main surveillance, and figured out who was the person who brought the boss back? She was a little relieved, and found this third-line actor airborne hot search enthusiastic citizen so coincidental. Biting his lower lip, Ari quickly browsed all the popular Weibo. I found that the vast majority of people are ha ha ha, and a few are tearing up or exaggerating Shen Yu's appearance and acting, almost irrelevant to her boss, so I feel relieved. For the time being, it seemed that I was thinking too much, and it had nothing to do with that. Ari put down the clenched eyebrow pencil and told his colleagues in the public relations department not to move it yet. The state of emergency was over, and her senses returned. The curly-haired beauty looked at the words middle-aged uncle and smiled, and finally freed up time to fill up her delicate eyebrows, picked up IAD and planned to go upstairs to report to her work again. Afternoon, Zhong Simo had already cleaned up and got up neatly. When Ari opened the door, he was sitting alone by the window with his back facing the door, wearing a rare fruit-colored t-shirt, leaning back with his hands and leaning back slightly to let the sun shine all over his body wantonly. Have you booked the ticket? Zhong Simo stretched his waist and turned his head to ask. When he smiles, his eyebrows will be raised slightly, and his eyes will be squinted to match the good-looking face, yet romantic but not greasy. It's booked, and we will fly directly to Beijing in 2 hours. If there is no problem, we will set off now. Ari ignored Zhong Simo's face attack and answered calmly. Anyway, no matter how good it looks, it is fundamentally impossible for her to be hers. I don't know which little boy will be harmed in the future. I'm fine, clean up and go. Zhong Simo nodded, but Ari still had nothing to say. Wait for the boss. You asked me to find out how you came back last night. Found. Why don't you check the hot search for yourself? Seeing that Ari was unwilling to continue speaking, Zhong Simo had no choice but to take out his phone and open Weibo. He usually doesn't care about hot searches on Weibo, because hot searches reflect rules, and he makes rules. However, under normal circumstances, he is still willing to cooperate with the assistant sales Junzi. Being easygoing when he should be easygoing, and serious when he should be serious, the cohesion of Zhong Simo's studio is so high, which has a great relationship with the owner's high EQ and personality charm. Ari watched Zhong Simo frown and scratched the phone screen, paused for a moment from time to time, and finally chuckled, but there was no certain kind of expression she was expecting to see. Get in touch and find a way to tear down this hot search silently. A few minutes later, Zhong Simo put down his phone and ordered. Ari waited for a few seconds without waiting for the next order, and asked in doubt, "Then why this happened, don't you check it out? It's an accident." Zhong Simo understood what Ari meant, and put a pair of big long legs across the sofa and leaned back on it. Although Jo Kyun-hee is not very clever, she is not brainless. Whether she irritates me, or engages in small movements, it is all private. If she is brought to the surface, her family will be ugly, and Chen Yi will not be the first to spare her. When Zhong Simo said this passage, he leaned halfway on the cloth sofa, squinted, with 12 points of disdain. It's good if you know it in your heart. Seeing Zhong Simo talk about the contradiction between himself and his stepmother and father so casually, Ari was inexplicably relieved. As long as you don't get stuck in your heart, she hasn't seen who Zhong Simo has been afraid of. This kind of trust is not blind, but a miracle that the other party has created over the years. You said it was an accident, which means you remember something from last night. Well, I almost have an impression, but I don't know what his name is. He didn't recognize me, it is not convenient to ask more about my identity. Zhong Simo squinted his eyes thoughtfully, seemingly very happy. He patted the cell phone beside him, "But I know now. Middle-aged uncle." Ari didn't know why the boss had a good impression of this word, so he could only continue to say what he thought. If there is no purpose, Shen Yu is really enthusiastic to send drunk strangers in the rain in the middle of the night. To put it another way, in other words, Ari didn't quite believe it. She has seen too many stars of all stripes in the entertainment industry, and many of them rushed to hug Zhong Simo's thighs and caused a lot of unpleasant things. Over time, Ari must wear tinted glasses to look at people first. Did you not see what his fans praised? Shen Yu is very enthusiastic, and a little stupid. Zhong Simo nodded in agreement without knowing whether he was pretending to be stupid or really stupid. You actually believe that the person who was packaged by the agency for fans should know that all fans see his celebrities as perfect? Ari's forehead jumped, his heart was over, the boss was still stupid by the woman. An actor so confused that passers-by can't recognize him. I don't think his company has the intention to help him get any personality. Zhong Simo shook his head, recalling the youth who looked and temperament was very appetizing last night. This time the laugh is a lot more real. He folded his hands around his thumb, and said leisurely, "And just last night, I think this summary is almost the same." Ari would not question Zhong Simo's vision of seeing people. Since Zhong Simo is sure that there is no problem, it is no problem. But then she was even more puzzled. Since you think Shen Yu is good, why withdraw his hot search? For a third-line actor, the last hot search was extremely difficult. Every minute there is a little more exposure opportunity. Otherwise, Zhong Simo asked back, keep this hot search for a day, let the netizens do haha a few times, and then be invited by the end of the variety show as a comedian to have a hot end. What Zhong Simo said hit the nail on the head, but Ari could not agree. She was more familiar with the low-level operation mode of the entertainment industry than Zhong Simo, but this is already a good resource for Shen Yu. Ziaju has a wave of popularity and exposure. And the topic, maybe you can pick up the male lead of a small web drama next time. And somehow others helped you, you just mocked it. If he really wants to be a good actor, he doesn't need these messy things. Zhong Simo thought after a while and said, as for Ari, you should give him a trial spot for the drama he collaborated with Tian Chen. Although director Zhong's trial quota is not as exposed as Hot Search, it contains a lot of gold. If you perform well, you will be praised by Zhong Simo. Even if you can't try the role, you can still put a strong label in the hearts of the producers of all walks of life in the circle. Comparing the two, for an actor, the latter is obviously more precious. Ari was surprised that the boss was so generous this time, suddenly thought of a ridiculous possibility, and smiled enthusiastically, "Boss, you won't fall in love at first sight, right?" Of course, even though she said that, she was actually just acting as a joke, and she didn't believe it much. After all, Zhong Simo's high-sightedness is well known in the entertainment industry. For so many years, no one has caught his eye. There are even rumors that he doesn't like humans at all. Staff often play in their spare time. But this time, Zhong Simo didn't respond venomously as usual. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and turned his face to the sun. After a while, he whispered, "Not really." The young man, Shen Yu, appeared in front of him when he was most embarrassed last night, just like a tired traveler encountering a clear spring, giving him the help he most needs meticulously, without greedy anything. The clean and warm breath on the other party's body, Zhong Simo, can still be remembered clearly until now. He admits that he is eager to be exposed to this breath again, and Shen Yu's appearance also happens to meet his tastes, but even if it is love at first sight, the word love is inevitable. It's too cheap, Zhong Simo thought. He does have some interest in Shen Yu, so let's wait for more observations. When Zhong Simo recalled the details about Shen Yu in her heart, Ari was not idle either. She turned on the tablet she carried with her and checked it with a smile. "Boss, you probably have to change it in return." How Ari handed the IAD to Zhong Simo. Today is a day worth remembering. It was the first time she saw Zhong Simo so many mistakes in just half a day. According to the investigation, Shen Yu's agent, Mei Fei, obtained a trial quota from Tianchen through the relationship and has given it to Shen Yu. Tisk, Zhong Simo glanced, tossing IAD aside, rubbing his eyebrows, then try the show by. After Shen Yu finished the inexplicable hot search and the affection of the fans, he took the time to explain the hot search situation with his agent, Mei Fei. For some reason, he deliberately avoided the details about the man last night, only saying that he was passing by and helping a drunk person. Mei Fei was probably busy with Bai Zihen's activities. He didn't ask carefully, but told Shen Yaduo to pay attention to the artist's image, and told him that she would find a way to deal with the hot search. Instead, I emphasized the trial play again. Zhong Simo's audition is not something that a cat or a dog can go to. He doesn't care about the actor's reputation, but his acting skills must pass the test. It is like a provocation to him to play the audition in a mess. This opportunity is for someone to pay me back. It's only because of your favor. I remember your acting skills are okay. Remember to prepare well and don't shame me and the company. Understood, Sister Mei. Shen Yu hung up the phone and stopped worrying about hot searches. As a professional agent, although Mei Fei has never focused on Shen Yu, she said that there will be no major problems if she can handle it well. Shen Yu didn't expect to search for fire based on this inexplicable heat, only hoped that there would be no trouble. "Brother Shen, drink water." Before Shen Yu put the phone back, he suddenly heard someone calling him behind him. He turned his head to look. Wan Sheng, the female number one in the play, was holding 2 bottles of bottled water and asked him with a smile. Wan Sheng is not actually an actor, but a well-known internet celebrity. His main business was live broadcasting. She looks pretty and always looks lively and cheerful in public. The drama of Zufeng is very tight, and the choice of the heroine has been uncertain, and it has only recently been set on her. Shen Yu has a slow temperament, and he is more towards the opposite sex. A few days after Wan Sheng entered the group, he hadn't said a few words with Shen Yatong, and was completely unfamiliar. But since the girl took the initiative to show her favor, Shen Yu couldn't face her in public. "Thank you, I'm going to get water to drink." Shen Yu nodded politely and thanked him, and reached out to pick up the water that Wan Sheng handed over. I don't know if it was an illusion. At the moment of receiving the water, Wan Sheng seemed to lean forward deliberately. Shen Yu looked at Wan Sheng, but the other party was still smiling enthusiastically and decently. Thinking too much, Shen Yu secretly shook his head, unscrewed the bottle cap, and spoke again before drinking Wan Sheng. "Wow, this bottle is so tightly capped, Can Brother Shen do me a favor? Shen Yu saw that Wan Sheng's white hands had red marks and had not unscrewed the bottle cap, so he had to hand over his bottle to Wan Sheng for safekeeping in the eyes of the other party's expectation, and took the other party's bottle. Thank you, Brother Shen. Wan Sheng directly opened the bottle in his hand and took a sip. I'm so thirsty. Shen Yu had no choice but to suppress the strange feeling in his heart, silently twisted the water and drank a few sips. Next time you are thirsty, you can ask the assistant to help you prepare the water in advance. I know, Brother Shen, you are such a good person. Could it be that the legendary good man Kachanaya frowned as he watched Wan Sheng take the water away from the back? Wan Sheng was very normal and enthusiastic and cheerful throughout the whole process, but Shen Yu inexplicably felt that he was uncomfortable when getting along with her. It was probably because of anger and disharmony. Fortunately, this small problem does not affect the acting. His key main opponent in the play is not with Zhu Yao. This little episode was quickly forgotten by Shen Yu. After confirming with the director that there are no shots to be filmed today, Shen Yu removes makeup and drove back to the hotel. He still has the most important thing at the moment, preparing for Zhong Simo's audition. Shen Yu had always been a model student when he was in school, and when he pushed forward, he passed the art test with high scores. It can be seen that his acting skills are remarkable in the eyes of professional teachers. It's a pity that there are very few people in the entertainment industry who can become popular only by acting. Shen Yu, who is naturally slow and hot, is not the lucky one. In the past, he was too vague and nameless. This opportunity was in front of him, and Shen Yu didn't want to let it go in a muddle-headed manner. After all, it is impossible for an actor to have no ambitions in acting. Zhong Simo's famous work, King Mei, was filmed during his student years, and it has no interest disputes. It is the film that best reflects his thinking and logic. In many interviews, he himself mentioned that King Mei is his most satisfying work. Shen Yu has watched this work many times, and as he grows older, he has different discoveries and feelings each time. But this time, he planned to look at Om again from another angle. The little girl struggled to lift the Buddha statue and hit her stepfather on the back of her head, pushing the film to a climax. Should have been enshrined, the statue of the Buddha symbolizing holiness has become a wounding weapon. The little girl had the opportunity to resist for the first time in 15 years. She seemed to have lost her mind, her eyes were red, and she mechanically smashed the fallen stepfather again and again, her forehead blew veins violently, and her mouth was unclear. Chidi whimpered. When the young man gasped and hurriedly stopped, everything was too late. The camera moved with the Buddha statue that fell from the little girl's hand, skipping the back of the stepfather's head where the skull had been exposed, and rolling to the corner of the wall to stop. For more than a minute after that, the camera stopped moving and froze on the blood-stained Buddha statue smiling kindly. Only the voice of the young man and the little girl came. He died, call the police, call the police. The young man's voice was extremely flustered. Ms. Zhou, I'm so afraid, will I go to jail? Will everyone point me to me about hearing the word alarm? The little girl's voice was filled with desperate crying. Don't be afraid, let me think about it. The young man remembered his responsibilities as a teacher and forced himself to calm down and try to recall vague legal knowledge. You are already 14 years old. Murder is the 8 most serious crimes and cannot be exonerated. It's not right. We are justified in defense, and justified defense is too good. When Ms. Zhou was anxiously muttered by the young man, the little girl suddenly screamed, and there was another loud noise from a heavy object, and the picture was completely dark. Shen Yu saw this and pressed the pause button. The lens processing here is a typical Zhong Simo style. The plot conflict point does not focus the camera on the character, but completely moves away, motionless, which seems absurd, but the effect is outstanding. This shot was pulled out by various film critics and analyzed many times. In the end, everyone agreed that its success was that the blood-stained Buddha image brought a great visual impact. The voiceover came one after another, but the audience watched it. Not in the case of the characters, the anxious mentality just fits the atmosphere of the film at this time, and the loud noise when the screen turns black also leaves enough suspense. The combination of these perfectly embodies Zhong Simo's genius. Shen Yu originally thought that the answer was perfect, but this time when he looked at it from another angle, he found a different feeling. The shift and stillness of the lens, in addition to the purpose of expressive techniques, seems to bring some mercy and silence from the photographer Zhong Simo. Does that mean? Shen Yu was lost in thought, and I don't know how long it took before he was awakened by the sudden ringing of the phone. Hey, Sister Mei, Shen Yu quickly explained to me what is the relationship between you and that Wan Sheng. As soon as the call was connected, Meifi's questioning slammed over. Wan Sheng and Shen Yu were shocked when he thought of the things on the set at noon. It doesn't matter what happened to Sister Mei when something was urgent. Shen Yu couldn't help speeding up his speech. Okay, it seems that I was getting hot. Mei Fei took a breath and regained his composure and stated to Shen Yu, 10 minutes ago, 30 or 40 small marketing accounts in the circle released your and Wan Sheng's at the same time. The scandal, with pictures and videos, will be on the hot search soon due to your popularity at noon. The other party paid some books this time. What do you think should be done?